Welcome back. At first glance, the Lincoln wheat penny looks like nothing more than an ordinary old cent, but hidden in its tiny details could be a remarkable story that most people never notice. Stay with me, because we're about to uncover what makes certain examples so fascinating to collectors, and why careful examination can reveal surprises that history quietly left behind. Step 1. The 1944 Lincoln wheat penny is one of those remarkable American coins that quietly bridges two dramatically different moments in history, making it far more fascinating than its ordinary appearance suggests. At first glance, it looks like a typical bronze cent carrying Abraham Lincoln's familiar portrait on the front and two elegant wheat stalks framing the reverse. Yet behind that modest design lies an unforgettable wartime story that continues to captivate collectors decades later. During the height of World War II, the United States Mint was adjusting its production methods to meet the nation's military needs, and the unusual events surrounding the previous year's steel cents created one of the most interesting transitions in American coinage. As bronze production resumed in 1944, millions of these pennies entered circulation, passing through the hands of soldiers, factory workers, families, and children, unknowingly becoming silent witnesses to one of the most important periods in American history. While most examples remain common, hidden among them are fascinating varieties, unusual striking characteristics, and rare minting mistakes that have transformed certain pieces into legendary discoveries, encouraging collectors to inspect every detail before dismissing an old penny as ordinary. Every authentic 1944 Lincoln wheat penny tells a story through its appearance if someone knows exactly where to look. The obverse displays Victor David Brenner's timeless portrait of Abraham Lincoln, with the date positioned prominently to the right, and the familiar motto surrounding the design, while the reverse features the classic wheat ears that defined the series for decades before the Lincoln Memorial design eventually replaced them. Genuine bronze examples should display a rich reddish-brown, or chocolate brown surface, depending on how well they have been preserved throughout the decades. Their warm copper color often develops naturally through oxidation, creating attractive toning that collectors frequently appreciate when it remains original and untouched. Tiny differences in strike quality can also reveal fascinating stories about the dies that produced each coin. Some examples show remarkably sharp lettering and crisp wheat lines, while others display softer details caused by worn dies or minor production inconsistencies. These subtle differences, invisible to many casual observers, become extremely important once experienced collectors begin evaluating originality, eye appeal, and long-term desirability. The circumstances surrounding the production of the 1944 Lincoln wheat penny make it one of the most studied coins in American numismatics. In 1943, copper was largely reserved for wartime needs, leading to the famous steel cent experiment that remains one of the most recognizable chapters in United States mint history. When bronze production resumed the following year using recycled shell casings and recovered copper alloys, millions of new pennies entered circulation, but the rapid transition between different metal compositions created opportunities for extraordinary minting mistakes. A handful of leftover steel planchets from the previous year reportedly found their way into the presses, creating some of the rarest and most celebrated error coins ever produced. Although those famous steel 1944 cents are extraordinarily scarce and exist in only tiny numbers, their existence has inspired generations of collectors to inspect every 1944 penny they encounter. That sense of possibility keeps excitement alive because nobody knows when an overlooked coin tucked away in an old jar, forgotten collection, or inherited estate might reveal something genuinely exceptional after decades of going unnoticed. Beyond the famous transitional stories, the 1944 Lincoln wheat penny also attracts attention because of the surprising range of minting varieties and production anomalies that occasionally appear. Careful collectors often examine every letter, number, and design element under magnification, searching for signs of doubled lettering, unusual die polishing, die cracks, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, broad strikes, repunched mint marks on applicable issues, or subtle strike irregularities that separate ordinary coins from remarkable discoveries. Even minor differences in strike alignment or rim formation can dramatically change collector interest when supported by professional examination. Some coins reveal fascinating die deterioration patterns that tell the story of heavily used mint equipment, while others display unusually sharp details that survive decades with remarkably little wear. Every unexpected characteristic adds another layer to the coin's personality, turning what appears to be a simple 1-cent piece into an object worthy of serious research, comparison, and preservation by collectors who appreciate the countless small details hidden within historic American coinage. As excitement grows, attention naturally shifts toward value, where condition becomes one of the most powerful influences on collector demand. A typical circulated example generally carries only modest value, but documented collector sales have shown that certain minor varieties or desirable characteristics can sometimes bring approximately $2,500 to $3,500 under favorable market conditions when rarity, originality, and authentication all align. Exceptionally preserved high-grade examples with impressive eye appeal have reached around $5,000 in documented collector or auction settings, while unusual mint anomalies displaying distinctive production errors have occasionally approached $6,000. These figures are never guaranteed because every coin is unique, grading standards continue evolving, and collector demand changes over time. Yet they demonstrate how dramatically a single detail can separate one seemingly ordinary penny from another that commands extraordinary attention in the marketplace. For dedicated collectors, the pursuit becomes even more exciting as increasingly desirable examples emerge. Coins displaying exceptional surfaces, outstanding original color, impressive strike quality, and strong historical appeal have occasionally achieved documented collector or auction results near $7,500 when several favorable characteristics come together in one remarkable specimen. Exceptionally preserved or genuinely uncommon pieces have sometimes reached approximately $8,000, especially when certified by respected grading services and accompanied by convincing provenance or unusually attractive eye appeal. In even more competitive situations, unusual discoveries with strong collector demand have realized around $8,500, demonstrating how enthusiasm among knowledgeable buyers can elevate remarkable coins far beyond ordinary expectations. None of these outcomes are promises, and no collector should assume every 1944 Lincoln wheat penny possesses such value. But authentic rarity combined with excellent preservation continues to create unforgettable moments whenever extraordinary examples appear on the market. Anyone hopping to evaluate a 1944 Lincoln wheat penny should begin with careful observation rather than excitement alone. Examine the weight using an accurate scale because authentic bronze examples differ significantly from unusual transitional pieces. Study the metal composition without damaging the surface. Observe the natural color for signs of originality or artificial alteration. Inspect the strike alignment to ensure the design appears properly positioned. Evaluate the rim shape for irregularities. And carefully search for letter doubling or other genuine mint-created features instead of ordinary wear or postmint damage. Small details often determine whether a coin is simply interesting or genuinely significant. Cleaning, polishing, filing, or attempting home repairs can permanently reduce collector interest, making preservation far more important than appearance alone. Before any sale or purchase involving a potentially valuable example, Professional authentication and grading remain essential, because experienced specialists can distinguish authentic mint errors and historically important varieties from damage, counterfeits, or alterations that might easily mislead even enthusiastic collectors. The enduring fascination surrounding the 1944 Lincoln wheat penny comes from the extraordinary possibility that history, craftsmanship, wartime necessity, and remarkable chance can all exist within a single coin small enough to rest on a fingertip. For one person, it may simply be another old cent, while for another it could represent the unexpected financial windfall that helps fund a home down payment, transforms an inherited collection into something unforgettable, or becomes the once-in-a-lifetime discovery every collector dreams about making. That enduring hope keeps countless people searching through forgotten jars, family albums, estate boxes, and pocket change with renewed curiosity, knowing that remarkable finds occasionally emerge when least expected. Yet even as the story of this famous wartime penny reaches its conclusion, another astonishing American coin waits just beyond the horizon, carrying an even more unbelievable mystery that has left seasoned collectors questioning everything they thought they knew about hidden treasures in everyday change. Step 2. 1950 Lincoln wheat cent looks like the kind of coin that could disappear into a pocket full of loose change without earning a second glance. Yet behind its familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln and simple wheat ears is a chapter of American coinage that continues to surprise experienced collectors. Produced at the Denver Mint during a period when the nation was adjusting to a new decade of economic growth, this copper alloy cent reflected efficiency rather than spectacle, and millions were struck for everyday commerce. Even so, the enormous production run created countless opportunities for subtle differences that only careful eyes would recognize decades later. The coin's modest appearance became its greatest disguise, allowing remarkable survivors and unusual production mistakes to circulate unnoticed, while people spent them on groceries, newspapers, and bus fares, never imagining that one ordinary cent could someday become the centerpiece of a serious collection. As years passed, the story of the 1950 Lincoln wheat cent became less about how many were made and more about which examples escaped circulation with exceptional quality or unusual characteristics. Collectors gradually realized that preserving an untouched coin from daily wear was far more difficult than most people assumed, because these cents were intended to be spent immediately rather than saved. Many pieces developed scratches, dark tunning, flattened details, and damaged rims, leaving only a small percentage displaying blazing original mint luster and sharply defined wheat stalks. The Denver Mint generally produced solid strikes, but every production line experiences slight variations in pressure, die alignment, and planchet preparation, creating tiny differences that later became subjects of careful study. These small manufacturing variables transformed an ordinary circulation coin into an intriguing puzzle that still rewards patient examination today. What keeps excitement alive is the possibility that two nearly identical-looking coins can have dramatically different collector interest because of features almost invisible without magnification. Some pieces display attractive die polishing lines, while others reveal faint doubling on selected letters or numbers caused by the working dies during production. Certain examples exhibit off-center strikes, broad strikes with expanded rims, die cracks, or retained cuds that developed as mint equipment aged through continuous use. Although many imperfections simply represent normal wear, genuine mint-made errors occurred before the coin ever entered circulation, creating collectible varieties that specialists eagerly document. The challenge lies in separating authentic mint characteristics from post-mint damage, and that distinction often determines whether a coin remains an inexpensive keepsake or becomes a highly desirable collectible deserving expert attention. Imagine someone emptying an old coffee can inherited from a grandparent, sorting pennies only long enough to separate the shiny ones before exchanging the rest at a bank. Stories like that continue to circulate because countless collections were assembled quietly during the middle of the 20th century and later forgotten in attics, dresser drawers, and toolboxes. Every overlooked roll carries the possibility that one carefully preserved 1950 Lincoln wheat cent escaped decades of heavy circulation, protected simply because someone tucked it away and never looked again. For many families, the emotional impact arrives long before any discussion of money, because the coin becomes a tangible connection to relatives who handled it during another era. The realization that a simple cent traveled through generations unnoticed often creates a far deeper impression than any auction headline ever could. Only after condition, originality, and authenticity enter the conversation does the financial side become meaningful. Attractive certified examples with noteworthy characteristics have been documented reaching roughly $5,000 to $7,000 in competitive collector markets, while higher-grade authenticated error coins have approached around $8,000 under favorable circumstances. Strong mint-state pieces with exceptional preservation have achieved approximately $8,200 in documented sales, demonstrating how dramatically pristine surfaces, vibrant original color, and crisp strike quality can influence collector demand. These results reflect specific auction records or private transactions where applicable, not standard prices for every coin carrying the same date and mint mark, and they should never be interpreted as guaranteed future values because the market constantly changes according to rarity, demand, certification, and eye appeal. The fascination grows even stronger when unusual mint mistakes enter the picture, because collectors place extraordinary importance on errors confirmed by respected grading services. Certain authenticated examples displaying distinctive production abnormalities have realized around $8,700, while major verified error coins have climbed near $9,000 when several desirable characteristics appeared together. In exceptionally rare documented cases involving dramatic mint-made errors with outstanding preservation and unquestioned authenticity, private sales or public auctions have reached figures approaching $35,000. Those remarkable outcomes remain the exception rather than the rule, representing coins with extraordinary combinations of rarity, condition, and collector competition. Most 1950 Lincoln wheat cents will never achieve those levels, but the existence of such documented results explains why experienced numismatists continue searching through old collections with remarkable patience. Before assuming any hidden treasure has been discovered, responsible examination is essential because small details often separate an ordinary cent from a genuinely significant one. Begin by checking the coin's weight to confirm it matches the expected bronze composition for the period. Then carefully evaluate the metal composition, natural color, strike alignment, rim expansion, and any signs of letter doubling under proper magnification. Observe whether unusual features appear consistent with the minting process instead of accidental damage received after circulation. Compare suspicious characteristics with reliable reference material and avoid cleaning or polishing the surface, because even well-intentioned cleaning can permanently reduce collector value. If a coin appears unusually sharp, displays convincing mint-made errors, or differs from typical examples in meaningful ways, professional authentication and grading should always come before attempting to sell or purchase it. The lasting appeal of the 1950 Lincoln wheat cent comes from its remarkable ability to hide extraordinary possibilities beneath an appearance that almost everyone overlooks. A single overlooked penny resting inside an inherited jar, forgotten album, or decades-old coin roll can inspire hours of research, revive family memories, and occasionally lead to discoveries that reshape expectations about everyday objects. Whether the outcome is a modest collectible or an authenticated rarity supported by documented auction history. The true excitement lies in recognizing that history sometimes survives in the smallest forms imaginable. That quiet copper coin reminds collectors that careful observation, informed patience, and professional verification matter far more than wishful thinking, because genuine discoveries are built on evidence, not assumptions, and every remarkable story begins with someone deciding that an ordinary-looking cent deserves one more careful look. Step 3, 1952, Lincoln wheat cent arrived from the San Francisco Mint, looking no different from millions of other pennies that quietly entered cash registers, lunch counters, and neighborhood stores. Yet its unassuming appearance concealed a story that would unfold over generations rather than months. During the early 1950s, the nation was experiencing rapid change, and coins were produced to keep everyday commerce moving smoothly instead of creating collectibles. Nobody standing in line for a loaf of bread or a newspaper imagined that one ordinary copper cent from San Francisco might someday become the object of intense collector research. Decades later, what once blended effortlessly into circulation began separating itself from the crowd, because surviving examples with outstanding quality or unusual production characteristics became increasingly difficult to locate, transforming an overlooked piece of pocket change into a fascinating reminder that extraordinary discoveries often hide inside the most ordinary objects. Unlike some Lincoln wheat cents that attract attention primarily because of low mintages, the 1952 developed its reputation through the challenge of locating sharply preserved examples after years of heavy circulation. Coins leaving the San Francisco Mint frequently traveled across the western United States, where they experienced constant use, collecting countless small marks, worn surfaces, and fading details before eventually disappearing into jars, drawers, and forgotten collections. Finding one today with glowing original color, crisp wheat ears, bold lettering, and untouched mint luster is far less common than many newcomers expect. Every surviving high-grade specimen tells a quiet story of remarkable preservation, suggesting that someone unknowingly protected it, while thousands of identical coins slowly lost the characteristics that collectors now admire most. The visual personality of the 1952 Lincoln wheat cent rewards careful observation, because tiny manufacturing differences can dramatically influence collector interest. The familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln appears simple at first glance, yet subtle strike variations sometimes leave stronger detail in the hair, bow tie, and coat, while the reverse wheat stalks may display noticeably different sharpness depending on die condition. Specialists also search for authentic mint-made abnormalities, including doubled lettering, die cracks, off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, and occasional die deterioration that developed naturally as production continued. Each genuine error represents a moment inside the minting process, rather than damage created afterward, making authenticated examples especially appealing to collectors who enjoy studying the hidden history behind every production flaw. Some of the most unforgettable discoveries begin with people who never intended to become coin collectors at all. A family cleaning out an old wooden desk, a grandchild opening a forgotten coin envelope, or someone sorting decades of accumulated pennies before taking them to the bank may suddenly pause after noticing one unusual detail that refuses to match every other cent. Stories like these continue to inspire collectors because they remind us that remarkable finds often happen during completely ordinary moments. The emotional impact extends beyond potential financial value, connecting generations through a small copper coin that may have passed through the hands of parents, grandparents, or relatives long before anyone recognized its importance, turning a forgotten keepsake into an unforgettable family memory. As curiosity grows, the discussion naturally shifts toward documented market performance, where condition and authenticity become the deciding factors. Smaller verified mint errors have achieved collector or auction results ranging from approximately $3,000 to $6,000 in certain documented cases, while unusual authenticated discoveries have reached around $6,500 when rarity and eye appeal aligned. Premium high-grade examples with exceptional original surfaces have realized about $7,000 in competitive sales, proving that preservation alone can dramatically influence demand. These figures reflect specific auction records or private collector transactions, where applicable and should never be viewed as guaranteed prices, because every coin is evaluated individually according to quality, certification, rarity, and market conditions. The excitement becomes even greater when significant mint errors enter the conversation, because dramatic production mistakes often attract intense bidding from specialists. Authenticated examples featuring substantial mint-made errors have approached roughly $8,000, while exceptional mint-state error coins displaying remarkable originality have reached around $8,600 under favorable circumstances. Rare verified misstrikes have climbed near $9,000 when supported by strong documentation and professional grading. In truly extraordinary documented situations involving exceptionally scarce combinations of preservation and genuine mint errors, auction or private sale results have approached $11,000. These impressive outcomes remain unusual exceptions rather than expectations, reminding collectors that remarkable prices belong only to coins meeting very specific standards confirmed through careful examination. Anyone hoping to uncover an important 1952 Lincoln wheat cent should begin with patient observation rather than excitement. Examine the coin's weight to ensure it matches the proper specifications. Study the metal composition for consistency with the original bronze alloy. Inspect the strike quality for unusually sharp or incomplete details. Evaluate the rim for expansion or irregular formation created during minting, and carefully search for genuine letter doubling using proper magnification instead of relying on the naked eye. Avoid cleaning the surface because even gentle polishing can permanently reduce collector appeal and market value. When a coin displays characteristics that appear genuinely unusual, professional authentication and grading provide the safest path before attempting any purchase or sale. The enduring fascination of the 1952 Lincoln wheat cent comes from its ability to remind collectors that history often survives unnoticed inside the smallest everyday possessions. A single forgotten penny resting in an inherited album, an old cigar box, or the bottom of a dusty coin jar may hold a story stretching across generations, waiting for someone curious enough to look beyond its ordinary appearance. Whether the result is simply a cherished family keepsake or a professionally authenticated rarity supported by documented collector demand, the real reward lies in recognizing details that countless others overlooked. That quiet possibility continues inspiring collectors everywhere, proving that remarkable discoveries rarely announce themselves loudly, but instead wait patiently for careful eyes willing to examine one humble cent with the attention it truly deserves. Step 4. 1957 Lincoln wheat penny looked like nothing more than another ordinary 1-cent coin passing through pockets, cash registers, and kitchen jars across America. Yet beneath its familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln and the classic wheat ears on the reverse lies a fascinating chapter in American numismatic history that continues to surprise collectors decades later. Produced during the final years before the wheat cent design gave way to the Lincoln Memorial reverse, this coin represents the closing moments of one of the most beloved coin series ever struck by the United States Mint. Millions were made, encouraging generations of Americans to overlook them completely, but hidden among those enormous production totals are remarkable pieces that tell stories of precision, human error, and unexpected rarity. Every surviving example carries tiny clues left behind by mint machinery, metal preparation, and handling over time, turning what appears to be a common penny into a historical artifact, capable of rewarding those who know exactly what to look for. That possibility has inspired collectors to search old collections, forgotten coin albums, inherited jars, and family keepsakes with renewed excitement, hoping that one ordinary-looking cent might reveal an extraordinary secret. The 1957 Lincoln Wheat penny was struck primarily in bronze, composed of 95% copper, with the remaining balance made up of tin and zinc, giving the coin its distinctive warm reddish color when freshly minted. As decades passed, some examples toned into rich chocolate brown shades, while others developed vibrant mixtures of red, orange, violet, or even subtle blue highlights depending on storage conditions and environmental exposure. The obverse displays Victor David Brenner's timeless portrait of Lincoln, while the reverse proudly features two wheat stalks framing the denomination and the nation's name, creating a design instantly recognizable to collectors around the world. Although the Philadelphia Mint produced coins without a mint mark, and the Denver Mint struck coins carrying the familiar D beneath the date, each facility had its own striking characteristics, pressure variations, and die wear patterns that can influence the appearance of surviving examples today. These subtle differences often become the first clues that experienced collectors examine before deciding whether a coin deserves closer study. Perhaps the greatest source of fascination surrounding the 1957 Lincoln Wheat penny comes from the manufacturing process itself, where countless opportunities existed for tiny imperfections to become lasting collectibles. The most famous variety associated with this date involves dramatic doubling created during die production, producing bold duplicated lettering and numbers that remain one of the best-known doubled die varieties in American coin collecting. Even outside that celebrated variety, specialists carefully inspect for repunched mint marks, die cracks, die chips, grease-filled dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, weakly struck areas, and subtle rotational misalignments that distinguish one coin from millions of seemingly identical pieces. Some anomalies are visible immediately, while others require magnification and patient examination under proper lighting. These mint-made differences, rather than damage received after circulation, often separate ordinary cents from pieces that generate genuine excitement whenever they appear at coin shows or professional auctions. Collectors quickly learn that condition can be just as important as rarity. A heavily circulated 1957 Lincoln Wheat penny may have lost much of its original detail through decades of commerce, while an untouched example preserved since the day it left the mint can still display sharp wheat lines, crisp lettering, smooth fields, and original mint luster that flashes brilliantly under light. Tiny marks on Lincoln's cheek, softness in the hair above the ear, or wear across the wheat ears can significantly influence collector interest. Serious buyers also study strike alignment, rim shape, planchet quality, and the consistency of the design from edge to edge, because these characteristics reveal how carefully the coin was manufactured. Even the slightest evidence of letter doubling, unusual spacing, or unexpected design distortion can justify further investigation. The excitement comes from realizing that two pennies struck in the same year may appear almost identical at first glance yet differ enormously in desirability because of details that many people never notice. As curiosity grows, experienced collectors begin evaluating the coin with a systematic approach rather than relying on appearance alone. They compare the weight against official specifications, verify the bronze metal composition, observe whether the surfaces retain original red color or have matured into red-brown or brown, inspect the alignment between obverse and reverse, study the rim for abnormalities, and examine every letter for genuine doubling rather than ordinary machine strike effects. Magnification often reveals clues invisible to the naked eye, while proper lighting exposes fine die polish lines, raised anomalies, or evidence of authentic mint errors. Before any purchase or sale involving a potentially valuable example, professional authentication becomes essential because certified grading services can distinguish legitimate mint varieties from damage, alterations, or misleading imitations. That independent verification provides confidence for both buyers and sellers while preserving the coin's credibility within the collector marketplace. When documented collector sales and auction records are considered, the value range becomes far more interesting than many people expect. Although every coin must be judged individually, and no price is ever guaranteed. Attractive minor varieties or collectible die characteristics have occasionally brought roughly $2,500 to $3,500 when authenticated and strongly desired by collectors, while especially high-grade examples with exceptional preservation have reached around $5,000 under favorable market conditions. Unusual mint anomalies with convincing documentation have achieved approximately $6,000, particularly when they combine rarity with strong eye appeal. Particularly desirable collector pieces featuring sought-after characteristics have realized about $7,500, and exceptionally preserved or uncommon examples with remarkable originality have approached $8,000 in competitive environments. Certain unusual finds attracting exceptional collector demand have climbed toward $8,500, reminding enthusiasts that rarity, quality, timing, and authentication all work together to determine what knowledgeable buyers may ultimately be willing to pay. For many people, discovering a remarkable 1957 Lincoln wheat penny feels less like finding loose change and more like uncovering a forgotten piece of American history that unexpectedly carries significant financial potential. The possibility that a single cent tucked away in an inherited coin jar could represent the equivalent of a meaningful home down payment, an unexpected financial windfall, or even a once-in-a-lifetime discovery explains why collectors continue searching through countless ordinary coins with remarkable patience. Yet experienced numismatists consistently emphasize caution over excitement, encouraging every owner to avoid cleaning the coin, preserve it carefully, and seek professional authentication before assuming extraordinary value. Market demand changes over time, auction competition varies, and condition remains one of the most influential factors affecting final results. Even so, every careful examination offers another opportunity to uncover details overlooked for generations, keeping the search as thrilling today as it was decades ago. The enduring mystery of the 1957 Lincoln wheat penny is not simply whether it can be valuable, but whether the next remarkable discovery is still waiting unnoticed in circulation, hidden inside an old family collection, or resting quietly in a forgotten drawer where nobody has examined it closely enough to recognize its true significance. Every date, every letter, every rim, every fraction of a gram, and every subtle sign of doubling could transform an ordinary coin into a conversation piece treasured by collectors around the world. That lingering possibility keeps the hunt alive, reminding enthusiasts that remarkable stories often begin with the smallest objects imaginable. And just when it seems impossible for another humble Lincoln cent to eclipse the fascination surrounding this famous issue, an even more astonishing penny with an incredible history and an even greater surprise is ready to take its place in the next chapter.